everyone. I'm your host, Heather Ashley, and welcome to another episode of Women of Her Story, a podcast dedicated to celebrating women who have made or are making their mark on our society. Today, I have with me Jennifer Atkinson, home baker and owner and operator of Baked by Blondie. Welcome to the podcast, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Heather. Thanks for having me.
Of course. How is it up there in the Great White North?
It's beautiful. Summer just started, so the weather's been really nice, but I mean, it's pretty muggy today, so not ideal baking weather.
Not ideal baking weather. True. I tried to make meringue one time when it was humid outside, and it was just a gummy disaster.
Yeah, meringue is just like, a lot of people fear it, and I can see why.
So where did your love of baking come from?
So I come from a long line of bakers, and up until recently, I had no idea one of my great-grandparents was a pastry chef.
Ooh.
My mom just was like, oh yeah, one of my grandmas was a big pastry chef. And my aunt used to own a restaurant in Winnipeg, so I get a lot of recipes from her, but all the recipes I use are mainly my grandma's, and my sister taught me how to make her pie, so now everyone in the family thinks I can make pie all the time.
You're always designated to bring the pie for like Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Christmas, anybody's birthday, no one buys dessert anymore.
It's all just thrown to you.
Oh.
Now, when did you decide to start your business? I know you got a degree in something wildly different.
Yes. So I got my degree in criminology and business management. So I got my criminology degree thinking I would be a lawyer. And by the time I was finished with my professional ethics class, I decided I did not want to write any more 40-page papers. So my baking really started when I got laid off last year, right before my wedding. I had all this time on my hands, and I woke up one day and I was like, I'm going to make a cake today just for the fun of it. And it actually turned out pretty well. My husband ate it and he was like, I think you're onto something.
Oh, I love that. So when did it shift from a hobby, like I think I'll make a cake today, to a full-fledged business?
So I started probably like within the last 6 months. I got laid off again because of COVID.
Boo.
Yeah, I know, right? And people started ordering like crazy, and it just really happened out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden I was like baking every single day, all day for 8 hours. And I was like, wow, I guess people are really wanting baked goods during COVID.
They're comforting, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And supporting a small business.
Yeah, I find a lot of people are actually more keen towards promoting small local businesses. It's like a huge shift in Vancouver right now. There's so many nice people in like the baking community on Instagram that share recipes, troubleshoot things even, or like, do little trades and help you out with pumping your Instagram, basically.
Oh, that's awesome. That's such a great supportive community to have. I honestly didn't realize that existed, but I guess you can find a group of supportive people.
Oh yeah, it's honestly really humbling because there's these people that you don't even know that are more like likely to support you than a lot of people you already do know.
Yeah.
So it's refreshing, I guess. Outlets are so positive, but I find the baking community is one of like the more positive sides of Instagram right now, so it's nice.
Absolutely. Do you ship outside of Canada?
I haven't tried to figure that out yet. I know like there's the CFIA, which is like the Canadian Food Inspection, whatever. And I haven't really, because as soon as they see something is edible or whatever in the mail, they start ripping it apart. So
really,
yeah, I've heard of some stuff like that, but I know there's a girl from our high school that ships around the US, and everyone in Canada ships around Canada. So, but do you know Milk Bar, the bakery? It's like
That's,
noodle
yeah.
So she ships to Canada. Like she ships everywhere.
Wow.
So I'm wondering like how
So it's possible.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like it's illegal. It's just like, what hoops did they have to go through to be able to do that kind of
I wonder if it requires some sort of like, I might be totally wrong in this, but you know how there's like global entry passes? I wonder if there's some sort of thing like that, like a license or a certification that says like everything I ship is trusted.
Exactly. I'm sure she has some little stamp of approval. I'm going to have to figure it out now.
No excuses. You've put it into the universe. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I have a little bit of a silly question for you. If you could make cakes or cookies for the rest of your life, which would you choose and why?
So I would choose cookies because I'm most comfortable with making those. I've been called the queen of cookies by people on Instagram, and my best friend Taylor calls me a cookie connoisseur. So I've just like, I can do it with my eyes closed now. And I always like finding like new recipes and weird little things you can put in it. Like I've started recently trying to make a monster cookie where it's like an Oreo cookie wrapped in cookie dough and like dipped in like all crazy stuff. So there's stuff like potato chips you can put in it. And I just think cookies are so versatile, whereas cakes are just like, not everyone wants a piece of cake. Everyone's going to take a cookie.
And even with cookies, you can like, I love icing, and you can totally ice a cookie.
Yeah, they're called woofies, actually. They're like
sandwich. Are they?
Yeah, they're called like woofie cookies.
I love icing, especially a good like homemade buttercream icing. My mom always used to say that she could tell the difference between my brother's plate and my plate at a birthday party because all the cake would be gone on his and all the icing would be gone on mine, and there would just be a piece of cake. So have you ever had people telling you that it's just a hobby and to like get a real job and that kind of thing? How do you get through that? Does that make you doubt your decision to turn this hobby into a business because it's no longer a hobby for you?
Yeah. Initially, it did. And there's been like a few baking flops where I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, why do I think I can make like a 4-level cake and frost it and like deliver it? Like, what am I doing? And, people are always going to have like their own opinions and judgments and whatever. For the most part, you just have to try to ignore it as hard as it can be. But I kind of use that as like fuel on my fire to like make me more ambitious, like motivate me to be better at what I'm doing. And it just gives you a little bit more drive. I think when people doubt you and then you pull something off and you're like, look what I can do.
Absolutely. What do you hope to accomplish with Baked by Blondie?
So I think that ties in with the last question a little. Like, I want it to be my main source of income. Like, I want like my own little baking empire where I can do all these little things and ship to you in New York, figure stuff like that out. And my mom always said, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it, but it's not easy. So that's why.
Oh, puppy.
I have a teething puppy in the background.
Just so everyone knows what that noise is.
Yeah. She's like trying to bite like my slippers and all that. And I think it's for her. So she's growling now.
Oh my gosh. What's her name?
Her name's Desi. So Desi. I have 2 other animals that are both D names, and they're cats. It's Debbie and Dante. So when we got her, we had to name her a D name.
Oh my God. That's adorable.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love dogs.
Yeah, she's a lot of work. She's like, I got her like brand new as a puppy. So like training and everything. And as you can see, she's like yanking my arm.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm all distracted by dogs now. Okay, I have to refocus. Have you had the opportunity to give profits to charity and or causes? I know that I saw you've mentioned before that that was something you were wanting to
Yeah.
do.
So every year I participate in Treat Week for the BCSPCA, and that's the animal shelter here. And they have branches throughout the province. So Treat Week's the last week of February leading into March.
Mm-hmm.
And you can bake for the whole month of February or January and then donate all your proceeds. But this year was my third year doing it, and it was my best year, and I donated $600. So I don't take anything off of it for the ingredients or anything like that. It's just 100% of sales. And right now, with everything going on, I was going to donate to one of the like Black Lives Matter movements in Vancouver,
Mm-hmm.
just with everything, you know, I wanted to help and stuff like that. But I'm doing that until September. So a portion of proceeds will go to one of those organizations. There's quite a few in Vancouver. So a little bit of researching to do.
I love that. That's amazing. That's such a great, I feel like not a lot of people or not everyone is going to think in a small business to do
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So I love that. And that's amazing. Maybe in the future, not maybe, in the future, when you have your baking empire, putting all those vibes out there, when, not if, you'll be able to have all sorts of really amazing causes and initiatives that you're able to contribute to.
It just seems like there is like every month I feel there's like a designated monthly cause. So I know like I volunteer a lot too. So
oh yeah?
I have I call her my aunt-in-law. She's the head of the hospice in one of the cities where we live. So she does like charity fundraisers throughout the year, and I'm always one of the first calls she makes.
Oh, that's amazing to be on that list of first people to be called, because that shows you're always going to show up and you're always a willing and enthusiastic participant. And I love that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Do you have any special creations that you make for friends and family that are like special requests for the birthdays and events? Like if know this brother likes that or this aunt likes this.
So my brother-in-law, he's not even like my brother-in-law, he's just my brother now. Paul, like he loves cake. Like he will eat anything I put in front of him. Like he's like one of my biggest supporters too. So, you know, for his birthday, he's always getting a vanilla cake. And then my best friend's Jordan is gluten-free. So I make a lot of gluten-free stuff for her as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Is that tougher are there a lot of adjustments that you have to make to bake like, gluten-free?
Yeah, it's completely different. It's not just a matter of like swapping an ingredient out and like hoping for the best. It will come out as a dense raw. Like it's so bad sometimes. So I am gluten-free myself. So I find a lot of my gluten-free things taste better than their gluten counterparts because I can taste test a lot more stuff. So my husband even says like your gluten-free stuff's way better.
Have you ever tried to make vegan things?
Yeah, I actually made paleo chocolate cupcakes a couple of weeks ago for a Mother's Day request. Ooh. And it's basically using everything from like the land, like nothing like processed or genetically modified. So you're using like honey or like avocado for the fudge or stuff like that. So even chocolate. Yeah, I made whipped vegan chocolate fudge.
That sounds incredible. I don't even like chocolate. I'm one of the anomalies.
I've actually had a few people come to me and they're like, I hate chocolate. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what I like really, really dark chocolate.
Yeah, see, like, I think it's a matter of sweetness for people that don't like chocolate then, because if you get a milk chocolate, it's so incredibly sweet.
Yeah,
and
it's
like
so
even
sweet.
Semi-sweet is bad too. So dark chocolate, like 80% cocoa, is actually like dark true chocolate is actually already vegan. So you can use that.
Really?
Yeah, because there's no milk in it.
Right, that makes sense.
So,
huh?
Out when I was making my vegan cupcakes a few weeks ago, the dog just like hop over my shoulder.
Oh yeah, your dog is just hopped right up in your chair behind you. That is too funny. She's like, let me fill in the spaces that you're not occupying.
Like, I don't know. What are you talking about?
She's watched your cats do it, you know? She's like, no, me too, though.
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned that a lot of your recipes are that of your grandmothers or your aunts. Is there a special one that always makes you feel like you're right at home every time you make it?
I would definitely say my grandma's pie crust, because I know it by heart. And so I don't even have to look at the recipe. And like, my grandma died when I was fairly young. Like, I had already moved to Texas at that point. So I didn't really have too much time with her. So I kind of like, that's her way of like immersing herself with me now.
Oh, I love that. That's always so special. You know, it's like my grandmother's biscuit recipe.
Yeah.
I don't even have to think about it. I already know exactly like temperature, measurements, all of that.
Yeah.
Does your husband get in on the baking at all? Or is he your taste tester?
He definitely gets in on the baking sometimes. He's incredibly talented at drawing and graffiti and stuff like that.
Ooh.
So I am not much of a drawer. So when it comes to cake decorating, it's like super difficult for me. So when you see like the letters or numbers on top of the cake, that's him writing it.
Oh,
like,
that's
he outlines
so
it
cool.
for me and I go in and do it. So, but he is a taste tester too, and he helps a lot with my photography. Like, he and his friend like will come over and do like stylized shoots of pies.
Oh
and
my
one
god!
time they like went out in the yard and were like grabbing leaves off a tree. And then they put my pumpkin pie with all these leaves and like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, but it's one of like my most liked pictures. So
oh my god,
he did something right.
Yeah, right. What does he do? Is he like in a creative field, or is this just something?
An industrial electrician.
What?
So, not necessarily creative, but he still has to work with like blueprints and, you know, measurements and stuff like that. Like, he is very nice to have around the house.
Yeah. And it seems like he has an eye for detail and like symmetry. If he's able to, if he can.
It's all about like proportions and measurements. Like, he can tell me like, no, that's not like 2/8 of an inch, like blah blah blah. I'm like, all right, man, whatever.
You're like, God, let me just put this heart on the cake.
Yeah, exactly.
Is he ever like does he ever kind of, I don't know how to phrase it, if you let's say draw a heart on a cake, does he ever say like, well, that's not symmetrical?
Yeah. Like, if I post a picture, he's gonna hate me for saying this. He'll be like, you know, the cake's not really centered in the middle of the plate. And I'm like, okay, great. Thanks for pointing that out after that.
You're like, well, maybe you're going to be the only person to notice that. Like,
exactly.
earlier when we were talking about whether you would make cookies or cakes, you mentioned that with cookies, you can put all kinds of weird stuff in them, and that's what you love. I made soy sauce cookies, which are so good. I know it sounds terrible, but it's not. It's so good. It's basically like, no, kind of. Think of like a crumbly, like almost like biscuity cookie, like almost kind of cakey, you know, that kind. It's they're not very sweet. You don't put much sugar in them, which is probably why I like them. Yeah, but the you can't really taste the soy sauce. The soy sauce almost kind of tastes a little like salted caramel when it comes out of the oven, and it's like baked into the batter. It's so good, but it sounds terrible. Do you ever experiment with treats like that sound just awful, but they're actually really amazing?
I've tried to make avocado mousse before. It's a thing. It's a healthier version of mousse. But I've just stepped away from mousse making in general. It's like my baking nemesis. Like sometimes it'll work out, sometimes it won't. You're like left guessing. So that's as interesting as I've gotten. So.
Have you ever made stuff up? Woo. Words are kind of hard sometimes.
Words are hard.
Have you ever made something up as you went along, or is that not as acceptable in baking because it's more of an exact measurement kind of thing?
Sometimes with baking, all you need is like a base recipe that you can build on and like do your mix-ins and like put whatever you want in it. So with my gluten-free things, I've tried to do that a little bit. And you kind of just take out the chocolate chip component and then make sure the measurements of your add-ins are kind of the same. So I've had happy accidents like that, like toffee double chocolate cookies. Ooh. Those are very sweet. So not sure if you'd be into them or not, but they're like a regular thing that I make now. So it's good.
And those are gluten-free?
Yeah, I just use gluten-free flour and like demerara sugar and toffee bits.
That's so cool. I wish you shipped to...
I gotta figure it out, okay?
Figure it out. Figure it out ASAP.
Give me my test dummy for it.
Are you working with any new super special ingredients?
Well, that you asked. Out of like just pure curiosity and like dabbling in it myself, and being in BC, it's called BC Bud. So very popular here, and there's a huge market to have infused confections. So that's something I'm trying to tackle right now. I have fibromyalgia. I was diagnosed with it 7 years ago, and there's virtually no treatment available for it. You're just like left in constant pain. So that's why I kind of like sought out infused candy. And I'm actually starting my own business. So it's going to be like Get Baked by Blondie.
I was going to say, you could still just use Baked by Blondie.
I know. It's pretty funny because a lot of the people on Instagram that follow me are actually cannabis related accounts because they see Baked by Blondie and they're like, oh, like Get Baked? And like I've had people be like, is everything you make infused? And that's like a common misconception that I put it in everything. But why would you want it in everything? I mean, I know there's some people that would, and I can't argue with them, but it's definitely been fun, like testing recipes. However, finding the ingredients to make infused confections has been so troublesome. You would not believe how few and far between sheet gelatin is. Like, I had to import it from the States during COVID, and I've been waiting for it for 2 months.
Wow. Yeah, that's so weird.
I know. And
I wonder why.
I don't know. And I don't know if it's because of like the shipping and the borders being closed. You can't just drive across the border right now. Like there's like supplies in Seattle, but that's like the epicenter of Corona. So I'm not really sure I want to go down there.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, probably not. Maybe not. Don't right now. You use THC for your fibromyalgia?
Yes, I do.
Have you, so that's how you got into it? That's so interesting. Did you have to get like a medical marijuana card or?
Yeah, I actually did. So because it wasn't legal here for the longest time, and cannabis infused candy just became like semi acceptable in the province. So I do have my medical card. I have the option to have my medical grow license as well. So it's not like I'm just somebody off the street dabbling with it. Like,
yeah.
No, like you have to go through a few hoops and like meetings and stuff to get your card from actual doctors, but I would say it's worth it.
Yeah. And you've obviously, felt the benefits of it to then feel like you wanted to turn it into a business that is gonna like help people. I am all about legalizing it.
Because I like have been like a user of cannabis infused products, I kind of know like the taste of them and things like that. So I actually wrote a paper in university, legalization versus decriminalization. And that was like way before it was a thing. It was probably 6 years ago I wrote the paper. So it's only been legal here for like 2 years maybe, but a bit before the time, but at least I, it was interesting learning about it all.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's such a misunderstood plant,
That's literally all it is a plant.
Yeah, I'm like, it's a very, very misunderstood plant that has a lot of benefits when used
appropriately.
Yeah, when used appropriately. It's just the same thing with drinking. Drink responsibly.
Exactly. And you have to think like there's the prohibition too, and look how far it's come since then.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
There's like alcohol.
As you sip on your White Claw.
Yeah, I know. As I drink my White Claw. There's companies that are like making hand sanitizer now that normally would make whiskey. So yeah, it's not helpful.
Yeah.
It's a plant. Get over it.
Yeah. It's a plant that has a lot of really incredible. I was going to say incredible medical, but it came out incredible. Making up new words. But yeah, it's got so many benefits. And that's such a cool new venture within your business.
I know. It's been pretty exciting. And I'm like, still kind of nervous about it, but I know like when you have like a feeling about like doing something and then it might like be all you do after that. But, I'm like, what am I getting myself into here? Like I'm gonna be making candy nonstop now. Because there's such a huge market for it, so I'm just gonna ride the wave while I can.
Do it, ride the wave. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of cool things that can come from that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we get to our last two questions, is there anything else that you would like to add, where we can follow you, how we can order if you're in Canada, and anything else we didn't touch on?
So I am actually on Facebook as of now at Get Baked by Blondie. Out of coincidence, my friend made it for me a year ago, and Baked by Blondie was already taken, so it's a happy accident. And then on Instagram, I'm Baked by Blondie, and just stay tuned for when I start shipping, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to find out when you get
you'll be the first
shipping. So I ask the same last two questions to everyone that comes through the podcast. The first is, what is your second favorite color?
Okay, so I was initially gonna say, like, is leopard considered a color? That would be my favorite. Honestly, my favorite color is gray. It's super weird. Everyone's like, gray is not a color, it's a shade. And I'm like, in my gray dress, sitting in my gray chair, you know. And it's just funny because like every time my mom buys me something, it's gray. She's like, oh, I saw this and thought of you. So like when people see gray and think of me, like that's kind of funny, but
I
it's
love gray.
yeah, it's just neutral. It goes with everything. So
yeah, you could wear brown shoes or black shoes or red shoes or any color of
shoes.
Yeah, you could wear anything with gray. Gray is excellent. It also is lighter than black, but it doesn't get as dirty as white.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's I have to steer away from white because New York. So if you brush up on anything, your shirt's now gray, so you might as well just wear a gray shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe I should go to New York then.
You'll fit right in.
Yeah.
And last, what, in your opinion, is the best part of being a woman?
You know, it's such a hard question to answer because everyone has like their own take on what it is to be a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So I think being a woman and being able to have independence and to be educated and to be like in this great support system for the most part. But yeah, I think that's what's great about being a woman, like seeing how far like the gender equality has come and being able to like live in this time where, you know, I place a lot of importance on my education. Like that's something I'm very proud of. And not every girl has the option to choose to go to university, and university is not for everyone, but I relished with that. So I think that's like the greatest part about being a woman is being able to experience all these things now.
Mm-hmm. And I think something that's so cool, especially right now, I think the internet has, and like social media has a lot to do with this, is that there is so much camaraderie amongst women in our shared experience of being women that I think previously wasn't there because you didn't have access to all these other people who are going through the same thing. And then when you have the media and politics telling you one thing about yourself and all the other women, that you don't have any other reference point really outside of your own friends. And it is so cool to be part of this.
I think social media in this day and age has a huge like influence on that too. So
absolutely. I mean, like you were saying with your baking community on Instagram, that's like previously that sort of support would not have been felt. It would have probably been there, but there would have been no way to access it.
Instagram is crazy. Like, you know, when we were in high school, like we didn't have Facebook. And my husband said to me the other day, you know, I'm older than Google. I'm like, what? He said, I heard this guy say he was older than Google. And Google, you know, if you were born before 1996 or 98 or something, you're older than Google.
I hate that.
I do too. So like, great. So now my niece is gonna be like, yeah, well, you're older than Google. But it's just crazy to think because Instagram is like my biggest source of revenue, orders, and marketing. And had I been just starting out like back in the day, like, you know, one of my favorite bakers is Julia Childs, just because she is like so hilarious.
She's a queen.
Yeah, she is. Like, she didn't have any of that, and she was sending letters back and forth to her editor from France. So like to see like that whole shift, like it's just insane.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, the internet is both. Wow, I am really struggling with words today.
Together.
I combining words, it's fine. I think social media is both a blessing and a curse, but I feel like it is making a shift to be more of a support system than it initially was. I feel like a lot of times, previously when it was all coming up, it was all vanity
and
and just weird
style.
But
and it's interesting too, because you see all these like resurfacing tweets and resurfacing posts that are like getting people in trouble. So like, I think now people are more cognizant of what they're putting out there versus like just hitting the post or send button.
Right, because we had like AIM and Xanga and those,
chat.
Exactly. And all of that like basically disappeared after you sent it. Whereas I think that was a big thing. You're right. Yeah, when it shifted into Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of these other platforms, people treated it still as a diary or as AOL Instant Messenger to just like vomit their thouts out.
Yeah, word vomit.
Where they're just like, listen to me, and I think, it's definitely people are being, or at least I hope, it seems like people are being better about it.
I feel like that's like, as I said, with everything coming out again, like I feel like people are like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't post that.
Yeah, like maybe I shouldn't post all the thoughts that come to my head. I'm really bad about saying all the thoughts that come to my, good thing I have a podcast, but but yeah, but usually mine are just kind of like dumb thoughts that people are like, where I'm like, yeah, fans are weird, right? People are like, maybe don't say that out loud.
Whatever, you're allowed to have your...
No, really though, like think about it. Like an oscillating fan.
Yeah, and the fans now that Dyson have without the blade, like where is that air coming from?
Right? Okay, I'm so glad I'm not the only person that's having these thoughts, because no one else voices them, and I'm like, just over here like,
there's no blade in it.
Yeah,
and it's like not like just like air blowing. It's like forceful,
and it's cold air.
I know, so pretty funny.
Fans are weird.
There you go.
Oh man, well thank you so much for joining us today, Jennifer. I can't wait to see where this goes for you. I know that there's such a great path that you forged for yourself, and so only good things can come.
Oh, thanks, Heather. It was really fun being here. It was my first little interview like this. I was so nervous.
Well, I can't wait to when you're on Food Network. I can't wait to be like, I know her. I interviewed her first, so dips, right? Like I get credit.
Exactly. You can be like my official interviewer.
Oh man, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in again. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff, so that more and more people can be inspired by the amazing women we get to talk to every week. You can visit our website at www.ofherstory.com. You can follow us on the social media that we were just talking about, on Twitter at the Her Story Pod, and on Instagram at Women of Her Story Podcast. You can also send us an email to womenofherstorypodcast@gmail.com. And until next week, be safe, stay healthy, and show the world what you're made of.
This is a New York Glitch production. You are the worst.